Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to the channel for this very special stream of our Fantastic Four open spoiler discussion. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. Good to have you guys here joining me here today. And listen, just in case you didn't get the memo, just in case the title of the video wasn't enough, and just in case my intro didn't really do it, this is an open spoiler discussion of Fantastic Four, which means there's going to be spoilers. We're going to talk in an open spoilery environment talking about Fantastic Four. Now, of course, we're going to spend most of our time taking your questions. So if you guys are here watching live, and you got to be watching live, and you have a thought, observation, or a question about the movie, and we're only discussing Fantastic Four here today, guys, if you want to ask me about what I think about what Avatar is going to do on opening weekend, I'm not going to answer it. Just only Fantastic Four questions. Go ahead and toss it on into our super chat using the live chat right here on the side. Good to have all you guys here with me today. So listen, before we get to the main part of taking your questions, just want to recap kind of my thoughts and feelings on the movie now that I've seen it twice and I've had a few days for it to digest a little bit. I love the film. I loved it. I said both in my full review and in my out of theater open spoiler discussion, I said I felt like this was the return of peak Marvel. Now, and I've always qualified that by saying I'm not necessarily saying it's the best Marvel movie, but it's a movie that's made, as you're watching it, you can just feel, and the phrase I used was, you can just feel that Marvel is firing on all cylinders again. That Marvel's in its groove again. At least for this movie. So like the dialogue, the character development, the storylines, the visuals, it all came together, and you can just tell this was Marvel working at its optimum peak, and it delivered a great movie. And now, for the first time in a very, very long time, I can say I've seen 3 great comic book movies in a row. Been a long time since I've been able to say that. Been a long time since I've been able to say 3 in a row. But with Thunderbolts, which I thought was great, Superman, which I thought was great, and now Fantastic Four, which I think is great. Pretty hit or miss, spotty stuff prior to Thunderbolts. There were some very good things, but again, hit and miss. It's been a while since I've been able to say 3 in a row. I mean, it's crazy. So very excited about that and very, very happy about that. So yeah, overall, I love the movie. I thought each of the individual characters were near perfect. I thought that how they, portrayed Reed was perfect. I thought how they portrayed Johnny was perfect. I thought how they portrayed Ben was perfect. I thought how they portrayed Sue was perfect. I loved Surfer in it. I loved Galactus in it. Now, was it a perfect movie? No, there are a few things they could have done to tune it up a little bit and make it even better. But overall, I thought it was a really, really great time. So listen, without me wasting too much time of just sitting here and blathering on, we've got a lot of questions for you guys. Now, I'm going to let you guys know right up front, those of you who are veterans of the channel know that there are already many, many, many questions that have come in. It is doubtful we're going to be able to get through all of them. But if we don't get through all of them, the super chats are still open. You can still send them in. Maybe we'll get through all of them. Maybe we won't. If we don't get through all of them, in the next 24 to 48 hours, we will do a part 2. And if that doesn't do it, we'll do part 3 like we did for Superman. I'm thinking we can do it in 2 parts. But so feel free to use the super chat, send in questions. And let's not waste any time, shall we? And let's dive right into it. Let's get to your comments and questions here. We're going to start things off with Mary Beth, who writes, I love this movie. I'm seeing it again, but I want more. I want the extended edition, release the Shackman cut. Yeah, here's the other neat thing. I can't remember the runtime of Thunderbolts, but I'll just count Superman. Maybe Thunderbolts counts too, but I can't remember the runtime of Thunderbolts. This is basically 2 superhero movies in a row that are just basically 2 hours. Like 2 hours and change. And they were both great. Now, I don't feel like I came out of Superman loving it, but feeling like it could have been like 15 minutes longer, 10, 15 minutes longer. I'll be honest with you. I didn't get that feeling from Fantastic Four. I felt like it was exactly the length it should be. I never felt we were missing stuff. I never felt like, oh, this needed more room to breathe. I mean, you could have thrown in more stuff, but I don't know that throwing in more stuff would have elevated a bit. Like with Superman was great. And I feel like if you did throw in 10, 12 more minutes, it could have elevated the movie even more. But I didn't get that feeling with Fantastic Four. I felt like it was the absolute right runtime, at least for me, Mary Beth. All right, next up. JW writes, hope Galactus and Surfer aren't one and done characters. Well, here's the thing. I think this Surfer and this Galactus are one and done characters. But remember, we haven't met the Galactus or the Surfer in what is going to be the prime Marvel Cinematic Universe. This was on Earth, what was it, 836 or something like that? 828? I can't remember exactly. So I think this was the last we'll see of those ones. But once we get into Marvel Prime Universe, I'm sure we're going to get them again. Now, I don't think we're going to get Shala Bal, Silver Surfer. I think we're probably going to get the more traditional Silver Surfer once we come into the main MCU. But yeah, I'm sure we're going to see more Galactus and more Surfer, just maybe not the exact ones we just had in this movie. 828. Everybody's saying in the live chat. It was Earth 828. There we go. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Sam Fisher who writes, one of two. Love this movie. Reed and Sue had a great dynamic. I thought all the characters had great dynamics together, which is why the main reason I think this movie worked. Ben and Johnny inhabited the brothers dynamic perfectly. I bought them as a team from the moment Reed says Johnny, and Johnny knew instantly what to do. No movies to build up. I don't think even would have needed the exposition. Yeah. One of the advantages of doing a movie like this, and we've seen several superhero movies do this, and here's one of the advantages of it. By not making it an origin story, you're able to meet the Fantastic Four at their peak, right? Like, and everybody's got their role. Like Johnny's a little bit of everything. Ben's the main pilot, and no pun intended, but the rock that kind of centers everything. Sue is like the diplomat, the forward facing to the public one, and Reed is the leader of the team. And they have such a shorthand with each other that you're right. Like something's happening. Reed, all he has to do is turn to Johnny. Johnny, boom. Johnny knows exactly what Reed's going to say. And Johnny jumps into action. You see it really well when they're in the spaceship. Like all Ben, and that's where Ben's in command, kind of like, and Ben is telling Sue what to do, like, Sue on 3. And like Sue immediately knew what he was talking about. 1, 2, 3, both. It's like, so by making this movie not an origin story, we got to kind of meet the team already as a team and already functioning at that peak. And that's kind of fun to see. All right. Next up, CJ Rebirth writes, one of my favorite films this year and a top favorite Marvel film. I felt chills instantly during the mid-credit scene once I saw Doom with Franklin. Can I admit something? Here's the thing. Both Superman post-credit scenes were kind of pointless, right? Both of them were kind of pointless. I love Superman, but I said right in my first full review of it, I thought the post-credit scenes were pointless. The second post-credit scene of Fantastic Four is also pointless. Didn't need to be there. Not worth sticking around for. And I honestly, I didn't get that much out of even the Doctor Doom mid-credit scene. It's like, okay, he's there. But it's not a pointless scene. Like it gives you something, right? It's something. It delivers some kind of an experience. And that's what post-credit scenes should do. Should either deliver a really good laugh or a really good callback to the movie, or introduce a new element. And that's what it did. And I'm going to be honest, as somebody who loves this movie, I didn't think it's all that important. Like you didn't need that post-credit scene to set up anything. Like that, no matter what they're going to do in the future, they didn't need that post-credit scene. So listen, I'm not going to lie. I also went, oh, cool, there's Doctor Doom. But as somebody who loved the movie, I didn't get that excited about the post-credit scene, as a lot of people are. But that's just me. That's just me. All right. Next up. Let's see. HV3 sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, HV3. And HV3 writes, I hope this is a lesson for everyone who complained about them using a female Silver Surfer. They did it for a reason, because they could have made Johnny a homosexual and then they would have been really upset. Yeah, I've never understood the using Shala Ball version of Silver Surfer. Kind of exposed a lot of people, because like a lot of times what they'll do is people who just are racist, you know, and sexist pieces of garbage. What they'll do is they'll try to hide behind the, well, why not just do it the way they do it in the comics? Well, Shala Ball is from the comics. Well, it's not the one from the comics we want. Anyway, so kind of took away that whole thing. But again, I think when we come to the major MCU, I do think they'll use the more traditional Silver Surfer. That being said, I think you're 100% right. Like, choosing that version of the Silver Surfer from the comics was a story-driven reason. Remember, I always say this. Actors are there to serve the characters, and characters are there to serve the story. So the decision to use Shala Ball Silver Surfer was a narrative and story-driven decision. That's the way filmmakers should be making decisions. They wanted there to be a spark between Johnny and Surfer. And narratively played out like that. Again, I think when we get to the main MCU, we will use the traditional Silver Surfer. But why not take advantage of the fact that this Fantastic Four world is not in the main cinematic universe, and you can use the device to tell the story you want to tell, and you can draw from the comic version to grab a comic accurate Shala Ball. It's great. That still didn't stop a number of people from crying in their soup, which I just laughed at hysterically every time. I took a lot of glee watching people melt down over that. But at any rate, worked out great. And in the end, everybody's going to be happy because we got a great Shala Ball, serve the story. And then when we move into the MCU, I think they're going to use the main Silver Surfer. And then you're going to get like Johnny, who's like, you're not the Surfer I remember. Like something like some, which would be pretty cool. Anyway. All right. Next up. Mary Beth writes in again. When Galactus was stretching Reed, I could feel the physical pain, and that's 50% because of Prado and 50% because of the how big Galactus felt. You know what I'm going to say to that? I mean, again, the visual of it, Pedro playing the pain, all that kind of stuff, it worked great. But you know what? Galactus wasn't stretching him that far. I mean, Galactus is huge, and he could have done this, right? But instead he was like this. And I had the feeling, here's what I think. I think they should have shown him stretching Reed a lot further. Because I just watched, when I'm watching him stretching Reed, I thought, I think he can stretch further than that. Like, I think he can comfortably stretch further than that. You know what I mean? But so I'm fine with the scene of him like stretching apart even beyond what he's comfortable with, but I don't think it should have just been this far. I think he should have done like this or something along those lines. You know what I mean? All right. Thanks for that, Mary Beth. Next up, Alex Von Gollum writes, one of two. In the scene where Sue is pushing Galactus with her ability, showing fury, I just saw a mom protecting her child like a lioness. Here's the other thing. To me, it was also a play on, because remember, first of all, in the movie, every single one of the Fantastic Four hurts Galactus at one point or another. Reed screwing with his back, that got Galactus. That was uncomfortable for Galactus. Ben clobbering time hitting him. Johnny in his ship, like torching his stuff. And again, they made a point to show that Galactus was in pain from what Johnny was doing. And then Sue was able to shove him with her power. I think that's along the lines of how would I say it? Oh, by the way, BJ Casarelli just sent in a super chat badge just to be supportive. Thank you, BJ. Appreciate that very much, man. Thank you so much. That's didn't even send in a question. Just sent in a super chat badge to be supportive. Appreciate that, dude. So remember the old Hulk show where they explained where like the thing that sparked Bruce's research was understanding this thing that kicks in mothers when their children are in danger. Like a mother lifted a car and got her son out. A mother should not be able to do that. But when a mother's in protective mode, strength comes out that maybe she didn't have before. And Sue was able to shove Galactus. Not much more than shove him, but shove him nonetheless. And it was so difficult, it ultimately killed her. But still, yeah, I like the fact, though, that the movie made sure every single one of the four members showed that they could hurt Galactus. Like, none of them could defeat him. But I like that each single one of them had the opportunity to show that they could hurt Galactus. And I thought that was key. All right. Next up. Alex Von Gollum. Oh, sorry, part 2 of 2. The movie rises up when it portrays human emotions, reactions in a very natural way, and with the aid of brilliant writing. Listen, the best thing about this movie, I said this when I came out of we're doing my out of theater reaction. I said, this is how you know they did the movie really well. If you took out all the comic book elements, I still love this movie. The core number one thing I loved about this movie the most was the interaction between the characters. The chemistry, the dynamic, and the dialogue between the characters. That was my favorite part. Whether it's a little thing like, Ben, like one of my favorite moments in the movie is Ben and Reed standing on the balcony. And Ben is like, sorry, pal, you're not that smart. And Reed's like, yes, I am that smart. It's like, oh yeah, can you cook? Well, it's really more of an art. You failed your driver's test. Well, that was due to incomprehensible street signs. Like that whole dynamic, that whole shorthand that all of the characters have. It just, with the dinner scene and when they're sitting around as Reed's going nuts on the chalkboard, she's like, show us what you got so far. Like, I just love the dynamic and the dialogue. And that to me was the main strength of the movie. Not the visual effects, not the Johnny's flame power, not Thing picking up a car, not Reed kicking monkeys off. The best part was simply the dialogue when they're talking to each other. I thought that was spectacular. All right. Next. Oh, was there something wrong? Somebody said there was something wrong with the stream. Let me see if I can fix that. Give me one moment. There might be a brief interruption. I'm not sure if that will actually work out or not. Let's see if this helps it anyway. I hope this will help. Okay. So hopefully there was no interruption of whatever. I just bound the internet connections together. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going here, shall we? Next up, we've got, again, from Alex Von Gollum, who writes, Pedro's and Vanessa's face acting when Sue deduces Reed's thought, that was so good, about using Franklin as bait, made the scene feel heartbreakingly deep. I was in awe. Dude, I just finished talking about how I think the dialogue and the writing is what really, the dynamics between the characters, what at its best. But as Reed is going through the problems, like, so how do we get Galactus in the middle of Times Square? And and Reed is like, I haven't figured that part out yet. And Sue is like, yes, you have. It's just that she's like, I know. And he's like, it's blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I know. He's like, it's just that you don't, I know. And she vanishes out. Brilliant. And again, showing that this is a team that fully know each other. They have shorthand together. They are intimately connected to each other. And I thought that scene was absolutely fantastic. All right, next up. Abraham Ruiz writes, the Earth designation being Kirby's birthday was sweet. Oh, you know what? I didn't even realize that. Or 828, was that a designation of Kirby's birthday? I didn't even know that. That's wonderful. I mean, Marvel has always been great about peppering in these little Easter egg things. That is great. I'm glad they did that. All right, next up. Amin writes, if you haven't already discussed it, what are your theories and predictions based on the Doom post-credit scene and the Thunderbolts post-credit scene? So here's the thing. My friend wrote to me and said, well, after watching Fantastic Four, the Thunderbolts post-credit scene was just a misdirect. It's not a real thing. It's like, no, I think it's a real thing. But remember, that post-credit scene in Thunderbolts could be 6 years later in the world of Fantastic Four. We just don't know. Remember, these are different universes. Like maybe 8 more years passes in the Fantastic Four world before that event that comes up and takes place in the events of the Thunderbolts happens in its post-credit scene. So I ultimately have no theory. I'll tell you what, though, I can't be the only one. When Reed first said, we're going to move the entire Earth to a place that Galactus can't get it, I was not the only one thinking about how, oh my God, this is how they're going to bring the Fantastic Four into the main cinematic universe. Come on. I mean, it's not how they ended up doing it. But you guys have to admit that I'm not the only one whose mind that crossed, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they realize that because their world has no other superheroes and they need help getting their son back, and they travel to the closest dimension they could find where there had other heroes. I mean, I don't know. And I really don't care. As far as what Doom wants with Franklin, well, Doom always, everything about Doom was always about pursuit of power and ego. So, I mean, that's not surprising. How that'll play into Doomsday, if it'll play into Doomsday, not really sure. Whether he just wanted to take Franklin and raise him as his own, don't know. I really, at this point, have no theories. I mean, there are 1,000 theories. I don't know if I have one that I'm really leaning into yet at this point, so we'll just kind of wait and see what they're going to do with that. All right. Next up. Amin writes again. When Reed was trying to revive Sue, Pedro's performance was like Sarah's death in Last of Us. Yeah. And all that was missing was for him to say baby girl. You know what else got me? Again, this is one of those things where it wasn't bad. It's just something they could have tuned up to make the movie even better. Ben, who has known Sue forever, and Johnny, who has known Sue his entire life because they're siblings, they were remarkably calm. Yeah, they were remarkably calm when it looked like Sue had died. Like you could tell they felt bad for Reed because that's his wife. I mean, that's cool that that's his sister and all, but that's Reed's wife. And I get that, but I don't know. I just thought that maybe there should have been a little bit more emotion. It's almost like both Ben and Johnny kind of expected Sue to wake back up. I just thought like Pedro played it great, but I thought they should have had both Ben and Johnny maybe a little bit more emotional. Like I get Ben, maybe you can explain it with Ben a little bit more because he's trying to be strong for his best friend Reed. Okay, you can explain that one. But I really thought Johnny should have been a little bit more emotional. Anyway, this is kind of me. All right, next up. Anurag writes, Johnny, willing to sacrifice himself multiple times for Franklin, spoke great volumes about his character. Hope to get more Ben moments in the next movie. Yeah, I thought it was wonderful when, you know what? The first time I saw the movie, I didn't catch the line. I could see that he said something, but I didn't catch the line. It wasn't until my second viewing that I caught him say, tell Franklin Uncle Johnny loves him. Because he thought he was sacrificing himself, was going to throw him into the alternate dimension with Galactus. That was wonderful. That was great. I loved that. And again, all 4 of these characters are noble. All 4 of these characters are unique and different from each other, but they share that core nobility. They are all about the greater good, every single one of them. As differently as they each express it, they are heroes to their core, which is one of the reasons why I said in my full review, other than the fact that how great of a family they are and all the dynamic, I said this, and I don't know that this is where the MCU is going, okay? I'm not saying that it is. I'm just suggesting that the other feeling I had coming out of the movie was this Fantastic Four team could totally lead the MCU. I'm not saying they become the head of the Avengers. I'm just saying that I could see They could be like Captain America in the MCU, where like all the heroes look up to Captain America. And I don't mean Sam or Bucky or what I'm talking about Steve Rogers. All of them look up to Steve. And I could totally see Fantastic Four filling that void. That the Fantastic Four would be the heroes that all the other heroes look up to. And the way they portrayed this Fantastic Four team, I could totally see them doing that in the MCU. Again, I'm not suggesting that's what they're going to do. That's just what I could totally see them doing. All right, next up. Sam Fisher writes, love Reed's speech about how it's his job to think of the worst possible scenario so he can prep for it. Felt like Tony's armor around the world speech. Here's the great thing. I said this the other day. Here is the truly great thing about this Reed character and how he's so distinct and different from Tony. All right. Tony, in his world, is one of the greatest minds in the world. He's one of the smartest men in the world. And he knows he's one of the smartest men in the world. He might think he's the smartest man in the world. And in a fun way, that leads to his ego, right? Hence Edith, even in death, I'm the hero. I mean, he's a hero. He's a great guy, wonderful character, but nobody thinks more highly of Tony Stark than Tony Stark, right? His hyperintelligence leads him to being this egotistical, but heroic and charming and fun, vivacious character. They do it very differently with Reed. With Reed, who is the smartest man in the world and who knows he's the smartest man in the world, he's like, yes, I am that smart. I'm the guy. I have to think about all these things, right? But him knowing he's the smartest guy in the world leads to something very different than what it leads to for Tony. Whereas Tony, it kind of puffs him up and makes him really egotistical. With Reed, it's the exact opposite. I'm the smartest guy in the world, and I'm not smart enough to be that. I'm not worthy of this title. I am the smartest guy in the world, and as the smartest guy in the world, I need to do better. Here's the difference. Tony being one of the smartest guys in the world leads him to think he knows everything. It does. It leads Tony to thinking he knows everything and can solve any problem. With Reed, being the smartest guy in the world means he's agonizingly always aware of how much he doesn't know. With Tony, makes him think he knows everything. And that's what makes his character so great. With Reed, his hyperintelligence just makes him always painfully, agonizingly aware of how much he doesn't know. And that scares the hell out of him. It's a weighty responsibility that you see weighs on his shoulders all the time. And I love that distinction. I love that distinction between him and Tony. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I just love how that hyperintelligence manifests itself in the two characters very, very differently. Because with Reed, it's about knowing how much he doesn't know. It's about, I'm so smart, I know exactly how much I have no idea about. I know the threats I don't have answers to yet. And he's constantly living with the worst case scenarios in his head all the time because of his desperate attempt to want to be able to head it off. And I love the difference between the two. I thought it was great. All right. Next up. Rome E. Rundown writes, Sue shouting, "Killer Johnny" was deep. I loved that. And listen, that was a mother. I heard somebody say, that's not very heroic. Dude, that is a mother in labor about to deliver her baby and somebody is coming after it. And the way, I mean, when's the last time we saw, I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm just saying you don't see it often, where like a superhero in a movie is yelling, kill them, kill them. And Sue's like, "Killer Johnny." And he's like, "Well, you know, Bubba, she's coming to take your nephew. Kill her." I thought that moment was so out there, so different for a comic book movie, but it's exactly what Sue would say. Like, it's exactly what Sue would say in that moment. And so, yeah, I thought that was really well done. Kill her, Johnny. Richard Sorok writes, I liked the movie overall, but it bothered me that they cut John Malkovich's scene, especially since 2 scenes still reference his character. But why, Richard? Why? They wouldn't have served a purpose. That's the ultimate. That's what it came down with. Matt Shackman said why they ultimately cut it out, because ultimately they weren't needed to tell the story of the movie. So you just would have been putting it in there for the sake of having it there. And I think more directors need to develop the mindset that, hey, if something isn't serving the overall story, cut it out. Even if it's good, even if it's fun, whatever, take it out of the movie. And by the end of the movie, let's put it this way. If you didn't know about the fact that John Malkovich had been cut out of the movie, if you didn't know John Malkovich was going to be in the movie, I would propose that you and I would never once have felt watching Fantastic Four, you know what this movie needs? Red Ghost. That was the name of his character, right? It was Red Ghost. I think it was. Anyway, like none of us, had we not already known that John Malkovich was going to be in the movie, I propose that not at one time in the movie would you or I have ever thought, you know, it feels really weird that Red Ghost is in here. I feel like there should be a Red Ghost scene. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, then I don't think they should have left him in. They referenced a number of other villains. They referenced the Wizard, and like they referenced a number of other villains. I don't hear anybody saying, you know, they really should have had a scene with the Wizard. Like Mole Man, his presence had a function. The Fantastic Four needed somewhere to evacuate all the people of New York. Subterranea. You have a story, narrative reason for Mole Man to be there. But there was no narrative reason for Red Ghost to be in there. Other than it would have been, look, it's John Malkovich. And look, would I have gotten a kick out of it too? Absolutely, Richard. 100% I would have got a kick out of it too. But yeah, watching the movie itself proved the fact that since none of us in the theater is going, you know, it really needs this character. It proves that they made the right decision to take him out. They made the right decision to take him out because his presence wasn't going to serve the story. So why just add useless extra minutes to the movie if it's not needed to tell the story? So I'm okay with it myself. Again, I am with you though, Richard. It would have been a kick to see John Malkovich in it. I'm not going to deny that, but I think ultimately you're doing everything to serve the movie, to serve the story, and cutting him out wasn't service to the story. So I'm okay with it. All right. Let's see. Next up. Thanks for that, Richard. Taki75 writes, Eric Voss theorized that Franklin touched and healed Doom's face to justify the fact that RDJ won't wear a mask in the Avengers films. Maybe, but I doubt it. And again, even if they did do that, you could have set that up in a movie later on. It didn't need to be a post-credit scene. I don't think he's healing him. He could, but I really don't think he's going to be healing him. I mean, listen, he's almost as smart as Reed Richards. I'm sure he probably figured out some other way. Or maybe Eric's right and that's what they're going to do. We'll find out in Doomsday. All right. By the way, I love Eric Voss. Love the stuff that they do over there. Colin Z writes, Sue using her fields to push Galactus into the portal was the superhero equivalent of the I just said this was the superhero equivalent of the mom lifts the car off the baby because of adrenaline scenario. That I literally just said that about 5 or 10 minutes ago. And yes, 100% I agree. 100% I agree. And by the way, I saw some people online saying stuff like, well, they showed that Sue's the most powerful of the Fantastic Four. No, they didn't. Sue was able to shove Galactus. She wasn't able to defeat Galactus. Johnny hurt Galactus. Ben hurt Galactus. Reed hurt Galactus. They're all very powerful. I never got a sense from the movie that any one of these characters was more powerful than the other. I mean, they highlight a lot. Sue's very powerful. They also highlight that Johnny's very powerful and that Ben's very powerful. But I never got the sense that they were saying because she was able to shove him to the point that it killed her just to give him a shove. It literally killed her just to be able to give him a push. That's it. And I like the fact that they show that all the Fantastic Four could hurt Galactus, but none of them could defeat him. The best they could do was, give him a shove through a door. All right. Thanks for that, Colin. Taki writes, are there any bigger losers than the people who trash the movie without seeing a single frame just because it would feature a female Silver Surfer? Well, okay, look, I'm going to say this. Let me say this. No, there aren't any bigger losers than the ones who cried about it just because it was going to be a female version, even though it was a version of the character directly from the pages of the comic book. But that being said, there's also a group of people who complained about it because the traditional version of Silver Surfer just so happens to be one of their favorite characters. And again, a lot of the people crying about it were crying because, girl, but keep in mind, that's not all of them. There were also a lot of people who just legitimately felt a little bit slighted because Silver Surfer, the traditional Silver Surfer that we normally get, is one of, if not their absolute number one favorite comic book character. So when you're bringing that character to the screen, you hope to see the version that is the version that you are most familiar with and the one that you love the most. I get it. So let's put it this way. Let's say they decided to make a Captain America 5. Okay. And for whatever reason, Sam has decided he wants to be Falcon again and all that kind of stuff. And they're bringing back Captain America. Who do I want back as Captain America? Well, I want Steve Rogers. But instead, they decide to get Captain Carter. Now, I love the Captain Carter character. There's nothing wrong with the Captain Carter character. I like the way they used her in the What If universes. So I'm not going to be upset that they use her. I'll just be upset that I'm not getting the Captain America that I know and love and that I like the most, that I'm attached to emotionally more. And so I would have preferred it to have been Steve Rogers. Right? And I think there were a bunch of people who you saw maybe being verbally upset. Yes, a number of them for totally the wrong reasons, but I also think you saw a number of them upset just because Silver Surfer is their favorite character. And they were kind of upset that they weren't getting the Silver Surfer, the character that they know and love the most. And I think that's understandable. But again, I think Marvel is going to give us that Silver Surfer in the long run. I think that's the Silver Surfer we're going to get in the MCU proper. So I think everybody's going to be happy when it all comes down to it. So I would just say, Taki, yes, there were a bunch of people who, for the very, very wrong reasons, were screaming and crying like little fucking children. Girl. But I also, you can't lump everybody into that because I also think there are legitimately a bunch of them who are just like, they wanted to see their version of Silver Surfer. And I think that's understandable. I think it's understandable. But again, at the end of the day, they gave us a great movie with a great character who had a great narrative purpose, and therefore it should be wonderful. All right. Next up. Taki also again says, hope we see Innocence Galactus again. Yeah, while I think we're going to get the traditional version of Silver Surfer in the main MCU, I think this version, or an innocent version of Galactus, totally a Galactus from a different universe, I think we are going to see Innocent back as Galactus. He was just too good. He just looked too good. He sounded too good. I think they're going to use him again. All right, Sam Fisher writes, Reed being a genius, burdened with never feeling smart enough, like any burnt out gifted kid, makes him feel completely different than Tony. Yeah, I was mentioning that on the show the other day, and I was just talking about it again, which is, again, Tony treats his super intelligence like it's a party toy. Like, yeah. Whereas to Reed, his superior intellect is kind of a burden. It allows him to do a lot, but it's also weighs on him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I love the way they made that distinction between the characters. All right. Armando just sent in a super chat badge to be supportive, and then followed that up with, seeing Galactus leading to the black hole space chase is one of the most thrilling Star Trek, Star Wars, interstellar scenes I've seen. Awesome. I love that scene. When they're in faster than light, little shout out to Battlestar Galactica there, the FTL, faster than light drive. By the way, anybody find it funny? Just saying. Anybody find it funny that in this world of the Fantastic Four, they have an orbital faster than light engine drive, but they don't have cell phones? Am I the only one? Am I the only one who giggled at that? The only one? They literally have this Jedi, for those of you who saw the Star Wars films, this Jedi orbital faster than hyperspace drive, but they don't have the technology for flat panel TVs or cell phones. It's a different world. But yeah, that whole scene, the chasing around the black hole, and how awesome was the visuals of Surfer, like going through the cosmic dust and all that kind of stuff, literally surfing along all of it. That looked so, and the tension as like, we can't lose her, she's gaining, like she found us, and like all this kind of stuff. And the whole thing about the black holes bending the beams, that was it was so thrilling and exciting. The scene was awesome. I loved it. All right, next up, we got Armando again, who writes, Ben Grimm, one of the best pilots in the MCU. I think he's the best pilot. I think he's going to end up being the best pilot in the MCU. I really do. I think that's going to be his main thing. He's the best pilot in the MCU. That's what's going to be my guess at any rate. All right. Isaac Beebe writes, since Ben was the one to deliver the baby on the ship, I guess you could say that Franklin got off to a rocky start in life. I should ban you from the live chat, Isaac. Banning is too good for you. He got off to a rocky start in life. But listen, you know, that's the other thing, is that the movie constantly really shows how Ben is kind of the central rock of the, like, again, no pun intended, the central rock of the group. Like, he's the one to jump in, deliver the baby. He's the one who's to steady Sue. He's the one to steady Reed. He's the one, like, even in the movie, right? Even in the movie, like, who's the one who's normally holding the kid? Like later in the third act, it's not even normally Sue. It's normally Ben carries Franklin. Ben takes care of, like, he's just kind of the emotional center of everything. So, and I like the way they portrayed him that way. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? Next up, we've got Brad TV, who writes, Marvel Studios' new theme song for the rest of the year should be WWE Eric Bischoff's theme song, I'm Back, after these two movies back to back. Yeah, look, as somebody who loves the Marvel Cinematic Universe, do you know, it's so funny. Like, I'll get half the emails that get sent to me accuse me of being a Marvel hater, and then the other half accuse me of being a Marvel shill. But I am somebody who loves the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I always have to give my honest opinion. And since Endgame, I'm sorry, but Marvel has been very, very hit and miss. They just have. That doesn't mean I love Marvel any less. Like, listen, the Toronto Maple Leafs are my all-time favorite anything ever. But for years, I have to say, but they're bad at this and they've done bad at that. That doesn't mean I don't love them. I do. But, you know, you just got to call it as you see it. The MCU has been, and I've not been trying to be negative about the MCU. I'm just calling it like I see it. Echo was not good. I didn't think I didn't think Hawkeye was all that good. I didn't think She-Hulk was at all good. I didn't think Secret Invasion was at all good. I didn't think Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was at all good. I didn't think Captain America: Brave New World was very good. You just got to call it you see it. That doesn't mean I don't love the MCU. I do, but you got to also call it like you see it. When they put out something bad, I got to say it's bad. That doesn't make me a hater. And they put out some great stuff. WandaVision, Shang-Chi, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. They've put out some great stuff and some terrible stuff. It feels really good to now have back-to-back movies that I absolutely loved. And I can't remember the last time I've been able to say that. It's been a couple of years since I've been able to say that. That Marvel's put out 2 movies back-to-back, being Thunderbolts and being Fantastic Four, that I've absolutely loved. And it's nice to love the stuff they're putting out again. Here's hoping it continues. All right. Next up, we've got Sam Fisher, who writes, I love that Johnny was a playboy, but he wasn't an idiot. Yes. He's not the smartest, but translating an alien language by himself is nothing to sneeze at. Listen, one of the things that I think is very important when anybody's tackling a new rendition of a superhero or villain is to make them that character at their core, but make them different and unique from other versions. For example, I always go back to Joker. Jack's Joker was extremely different than Caesar's Joker. And Caesar's Joker was extremely different than Jared's Joker. And Jared's Joker was extremely different than Heath's Joker. And Heath's Joker was extremely different from Joaquin's Joker. Blah, 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 blah. They're all clearly Joker at their core, but they're all manifested differently. Very distinct and unique. This Sue is very different from the previous Sues we've gotten. This Reed is very different than the previous Reeds we've gotten. This Ben is clearly different than previous Bens we've gotten. And this Johnny isn't just the idiot party boy. Not that you can't do a great character with that as their premise. You can. But I really like that this Johnny he's supposed to actually be incredibly smart. Which is why Reed didn't just take him on the spaceship because, well, he's my brother-in-law. He took him on the spaceship because he's actually very gifted and he's very smart. And the fact that he was able, over the course of time, to decipher an alien language shows that he's not Reed, but he is no slouch in the intellect department. He's just also a bit of a goof, which is totally fine. And I love the fact that they made him like that in this to make him very distinct and unique from the other Johnny Storms that we've got. All right. Next up, we got Brad TV, who writes, Reed's first idea to teleport the whole planet to another solar system, a bit reckless. That would have been a disaster with gravitational pull just dropping Earth into a new solar system. But Brad, Reed would have calculated for all of that. Reed would have calculated for all of that. Again, he is the smartest guy in the world. And he said within a 2% area of margin. But what was the alternative? The alternative is, look, here's the thing. Let's say I have a choice for an operation. Let's say, I don't know, I fell onto a stick and I'm bleeding out. Okay? And the doctor says, okay, we can do this emergency surgery on you, but there's a 2% margin of error. There's a 2% chance that you'll die if we do the surgery. Your other option is we don't do the surgery and it's 100% that you will die. Well, you're going to choose the 2% margin of error surgery, right? There is a chance it could be cataclysmic for the Earth, but if you don't do it, it is 100% guarantee the Earth is going to get destroyed. So was that solution reckless for Reed? Well, what's the option? What was the alternative at the time? The alternative at the time was 100% guarantee the Earth gets destroyed. I mean, we can't destroy Galactus' ship. We can't defeat him in battle. We tried negotiating. We've already established we're not going to give up our kid. So he came up with a solution in a very finite period of time that was going to have a 2% margin of variable error. That could have been cataclysmic for the Earth, but it's either we can do the thing where we're guaranteed to all die, or we can do the thing that we have a good chance of surviving, but there is a chance we'll die. Well, you'll take the thing that gives you a chance, right? So I don't think it was being reckless. I think it was desperate times call for desperate measures sort of a scenario. Anyway, Thanks for that, Brad. Next up, Captain Dr. Hawkeye writes, after Doomsday, would you prefer the Fantastic Four to be integrated into the main MCU timeline, or would you rather they stay on their own separate Earth? I prefer they stay on their own separate Earth, but I know that's not what they're doing. Now, look, I said the same thing back when they announced they were bringing over X-Men. I said, and I still believe, make the X-Men Marvel Universe a separate cinematic universe. The MCU as we have it is already kind of overcrowded. Like, it's not kind of overcrowded. It's desperately overcrowded. How many years has it been since we saw Shang-Chi? They haven't even gotten around to doing like follow-ups on these key characters they've introduced. Where the hell is Shang-Chi? Johnny's going to be in Doomsday. Okay, I know, but that's going to be like 5 years in between appearances of Shang-Chi by the time we get Doomsday out. 4 years, 5 years, whatever. It's going to be a long time. Because the cinematic universe is totally overcrowded. And I've always thought that the best thing for them to do is to have an X-Men totally separate cinematic universe and to have other totally separate cinematic universe for the rest of Marvel. But I've always known that's not what they're going to do. Right? I've always known that they're going to merge them all in together. And I'm sure Kevin Feige will do a great job with it. He will. He'll find a way. I've got all the faith in the world in Kevin Feige. But I think the better decision would have been to keep it separate. And I feel the same way about Fantastic Four. I think they should have keep it in its own universe. It's kind of nice having superheroes in a world that are unique in their universe, and there's not 1,000 other superheroes running around the rooftops. But that's just, it's not what they're going to do, but it is what I kind of wish they would do. All right. Next up, Isaac Beebe writes, be honest, you all thought of Interstellar the second you saw the black hole, didn't you? I'm sure everybody did. Also, that Silver Surfer chase scene next to the black hole as they were trying to escape was incredible. It was amazing. It was intense. It was thrilling. You felt the stakes, and visually it was gorgeous. Visually it was gorgeous. So yeah, man, I am 100% with you, Isaac. I thought that was one of the best scenes in the movie. You know, I think it was my favorite action sequence of the movie. I liked all the action in the film, but I thought that was in particular was my favorite action sequence of the film. All right, next up, Dr. Captain Hawkeye writes, if Galactus is supposed to consume the entire planet, wouldn't he have to be much larger? Hard to do if you're only the size of a skyscraper, but I do understand scaling him down for plot convenience. Well, theoretically speaking, I mean, in the comics, he can change his size. There have been times when he changes his size. But even for this, remember how he feeds. His ship literally breaks down everything in the planet, and then it's like fed to him through these tubes. And remember, he's not a regular guy. It's like, well, you can only eat so much. He's a cosmic being. So, like, and he's constantly hungry. He's cursed with this hunger. And it's going to be nice to see how they portray that later on, probably 5 years from now. But so it's not like he grabs the earth like an apple and chomps on it like an apple. At least that's not the way they set up here, where it's his ship literally destroys the earth, breaks it all down, and like feeds it to him intravenously. And that's how he consumes, and that's how he feeds. So I thought it worked the way they did it. All right. Next up, we've got Chino, who writes, so is the Fantastic Four movie, is the Fantastic Four movie literally going straight to the Doomsday movie? I think so. Kind of like how the Thor Ragnarok movie went straight to Infinity War. Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, as of right now, it looks like we're getting Spider-Man, Brand New Day before Doomsday. But as far as the Fantastic Four are concerned, yeah, it looks like we're going to be going straight from Fantastic Four right into Doomsday. Now, I assume when Doomsday starts, we're going to get a bit of a preamble. Like, I'm sure the movie isn't going to go right from the last. I'm sure Doomsday isn't going to pick right up where Fantastic Four ends off. There's going to be stuff that happens in between that we get told about in Doomsday. But yeah, we got Spider-Man, which is partially Sony. And then the next main MCU film after that is going to be Doomsday. All right. Thanks, Chino. Next up, Mike Thompson writes, The kids to Ben, throw the car. Me in the theater, that's someone's property, you psychopaths. Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's totally what kids would say, right? Because if you're a kid that age, you're saying, throw the car, like throw it into a building. Like, you little monsters, that's somebody's car. You're going to destroy somebody's stuff. But that's exactly what a kid would say though, right? That's what I would have said at that age. But yes, Mike, I also thought that too. All right. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, I think my only complaints are that the movie drags a little bit in the second act, and it didn't feel like Ben had much to do as the others. You're not the first person to say that to me, Sam, but I disagree. I actually thought the second act of the film was my personal favorite act of the movie. Because you know me, my favorite parts of the movie are the characters, the dynamic, the chemistry between them, the conversations between them. And I felt like I got my biggest servings of those in the second act. So I don't personally agree, at least for me. My experience was I really loved the second act. I never felt like it dragged. And as far as Ben goes, I mean, I don't know. I felt like Ben had every bit of screen time that everybody else did. Like between being the one to save them all by piloting the ship and kind of being that, what I call the emotional core of the group throughout the whole movie. And then even at the climax, Sue wasn't able to push him through the portal because Galactus was able to grab the building and it stopped her from being able to push him. So Ben had to come in and literally take down the building so Galactus wouldn't have anything to hold on to anymore. Again, I just don't know what more we wanted him to do. I mean, again, you're trying to find this balance with the four characters, and I personally thought he had a lot to do, but that's just me. That's just me. I maybe it hit you differently, maybe it hit everybody else differently, but for me, I thought it was perfectly fine the way it was, but that's just me. All right. Next up, AV Callie writes, Earth 828 was so beautiful and interesting. Every citizen on Earth working towards a common goal to defeat Galactus. Meanwhile, here at Earth 616, nothing but misery and war. Yeah, it was... The Earth 828 that they portrayed in it was kind of like what Walt Disney's vision of the future would be. A world where everybody got along. Walt Disney himself had some issues, but we won't use this as the time to go into that. But this idyllic, futuristic utopia of where everybody gets along and everybody cares for each other and everybody's good to each other and the world knows how to work together. Because you're right. If that were to happen today, it's like, hey, we've got 1 month to all put everything aside and just work together and cooperate. It wouldn't work. Wouldn't work in our world. Absolutely wouldn't work. But in their world, it did. And there was, yeah, man, there was something really beautiful about that Earth 828, something very beautiful about it. To the point that I think when the Fantastic Four come to the Cinematic Universe Prime, they're going to be pretty disgusted with the way the world worked out. That's just my guess. All right. Next up. Isaac Beebe writes, RDJ posted a picture on his Instagram from the set of Doomsday with a comic book called The West Coast Avengers. What do you think that means? I think it means nothing. I think it was just a fun picture for him to take, to be honest with you. I don't think it ultimately meant anything. All right, Sam Fisher writes, 1 of 2. I was expecting one of the end credit scenes to be Reed working in his lab, and then we push in on a frame on his wall, and there's either an award given to both, where's part 2? To both him and Victor, or a photo of them together in college. But I think Sue and Franklin meeting Doom first creates more fantastic sense of Doom, puns intended. Yeah, I have the feeling... Because remember, there was that moment, there were 2 times in the film where they show Latveria, the sign Latveria, but nobody's there. Okay, Latveria is the one country that's not going along and working with everybody. But I got the feeling in the movie they are not going to do that traditional storyline where Reed and Victor used to be friends in college. I have the feeling they're bypassing that. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, that would have been a very appropriate kind of post-credit scene, but I'm really not surprised that they didn't do it. I'm not surprised. All right. Tim writes, Is it too soon to call a Fantastic Four the face of the MCU? Yes, it's far too soon to do that. Far too soon. We haven't even... Look, I've already said that I think this Fantastic Four could kind of be the ones that everybody looks up to in the MCU. But as of right now, they're not even in the MCU proper, let alone being the faces of the MCU. So can they become that? I think so, Tim. Would I call them that now? No, I think it's far too soon to call them that at this moment. All right. Amin writes, one of two. I like that the time dilation cost them a month, but wish it had been longer given how close they got to the black hole. It would have been powerful if it had been several months or even a year, and seeing the effect of that like Interstellar or Lightyear, and people thinking the Fantastic Four were dead. Unnecessary. I mean, I see, like, they could have done that, but it wasn't part of the story, and it really was just a few seconds, and how it would actually work, nobody truly knows. So adding that extra layer, they could have done it. They could have done it, but I don't see it as being necessary. I don't think adding in that entire new storyline is like, what happens to the world? Because then you got to explain, well, if for the Fantastic Four, it was like a year, then why is the Earth still there? Why hadn't Galactus got there already and devoured the Earth? Right? So I think that would have been an unnecessary extra thing. I think just them even saying that it's been a month or whatever, I think that was enough. That for me personally, at any rate. All right. Next up, Raymond Verrata writes, both Superman and Fantastic Four didn't go back and bother with origin stories. Both creative teams felt the audience knew enough of the characters and forged ahead. Yeah, because with Superman, you've had like 18 renditions of him just in the last, couple dozen years. With Fantastic Four, we've literally had 4 other movie iterations of them. You didn't need to go back and do the origin story again. They did that with My Hulk movie. You can also call it Ed Norton Jr.'s Hulk movie, but really it's mine. They did that with My Hulk movie, right? Like, okay, we had the TV show and we just had Eric Bana's Hulk not that long ago. We don't need to do the whole origin story again. Let's just jump in. And I think some movies need to have an origin story. They did it with Spider-Man as well. Like, we just had the Andrew Garfield and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Do we really need with Tom Holland to go through the whole song and dance again of, oh no, I'm just a kid, and oh yeah, oh, and I'm going to sad, oh no, there's a spider, oh no, it bit me, ow, oh, why do I feel so funny? Wow, I'm stronger than I used to be. Like, did we really need to go through all that again? Nothing wrong if they wanted to, but did they really need to go through all that again? I don't think so. So yeah, I really do like it. Sometimes you absolutely need an origin story, like Shang-Chi. Nobody knows Shang-Chi, so kind of doing an origin story for him was the right move. But for Fantastic Four, I don't think we needed the origin story. And I'm really glad they made that creative decision. Just jump right into it. They've already been heroes in their world for 4 years. I like that they took that approach. All right. Raymond also wrote, I'm sure scientist Neil deGrasse Tyson will have a field day enjoying and debunking the science on Superman and Fantastic Four on his next Star Talk. Oh yeah. And that's what's fun about him, man. Like, he can love the movies and totally tear apart the real science of it. And that I think that's awesome when he does it. I think it's totally awesome when he does it. All right. Wayne writes, tell Franklin that his uncle Johnny loves him. Love Johnny in this movie. Both smart, charismatic, and funny. Can't wait to see more of him. I absolutely love Johnny in this movie. And help me out, guys. What's the name of the actor who plays him again? He played Eddie. I can remember the name of his character, Eddie Munson from Stranger Things, but I'm forgetting the name of the actor. Throw it into the live chat, guys, when you have a second. We're on about a 30-second delay, so I'll get it in a minute. But I remember seeing him in Stranger Things and thinking to myself, oh my God, this kid is a younger cloned version of Robert Downey Jr. Joseph Quinn, thank you guys in the live chat. Joseph Quinn, thank you. And I think I'm not the only one who thought that when we're watching Stranger Things. Like, this guy totally looks and sounds like and kind of has the mannerisms of a Tony Stark Robert Downey Jr. And I got to say, he kind of felt like a young Tony in many ways. He still kind of has that. Now, he's not trying to mimic Robert Downey Jr. That's just Joseph Quinn. But it does remind me a lot of Robert Downey Jr. when he's portraying Tony Stark. At any rate, yeah, man, I love the character. I thought the character was great, and I cannot wait to see more of him. All right. Next up, Iron Boy Films writes, could have had a few more minutes to enrich the world as it survives. This film should have came earlier as they lead the saga and get a sequel to pre-Doomsday. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't think we needed a Fantastic Four 2 before Doomsday comes out. And here's the other thing, Iron Boy. It's problematic to make a statement like that when you and I haven't seen Doomsday yet, right? Like, we can't say we needed a Fantastic Four 2 before Doomsday when we haven't seen Doomsday. Like, once we see Doomsday, we may go, oh my God, yeah, this flowed perfectly right from one to the other. Or maybe we'll see Doomsday and we'll go, well, you know what? We really feel like it needed another chapter in between. Maybe we will. The point is, we can't really say that either way until we actually see the movie, right? Until we actually see the film. And, but once we do, we will. Listen, I trust the plan. Everything's working right now. They're finally firing on all cylinders again. We'll see where they go with it, Iron Boy. But you might end up being right. I just think it's it's premature at this point to say something like that when we don't see how it's going to flow into Doomsday yet. So let's just give them the benefit of the doubt for now. All right. Mary Beth writes, I love and adore Sue's version of "we do not trade lives" speech in front of everyone who is scared and angry. Yes, I agree. I'm not going to sacrifice my child for this world, but I'm not going to sacrifice this world for my child. We're going to figure this out. I love that. But 1 point of hypocrisy. 1 point of hypocrisy. And I think maybe I did mention this, maybe I didn't. Here's 1 point of hypocrisy in Fantastic Four, with the Fantastic Four. Sue and Reed and Ben and Johnny were not willing to sacrifice young Franklin Richards to save the world. We don't trade lives. They were not willing to sacrifice Franklin. They were going to do what they need to do to try to make sure they could save Franklin. But when Johnny and Shala Ball are going over Shala Ball's backstory, Johnny's kind of judging her. To save your world, you were willing to sacrifice ours? How can you sleep at night, lady? It's like, well, hey, wait a minute. She did what she needed to do to save her world. You're not even willing. You're willing to let this whole world die just so you don't have to give up the kid. Just so you don't have to give up the kid. Hey, I just thought it was a little hypocritical of Johnny to be judging her like that. I think maybe Johnny could have said, I get it. You saved your child. You saved your family. I understand. It must be incredibly painful doing what you do now, but it's got to come to an end. Something like that. I thought it was a little judgy, considering the fact that they were just not willing to take the step they needed to do to ensure the world's survival. Just saying. All right. Next up, we've got Sam Fisher writes, did you catch in the scene where the surfer first appears, the two guys in the comic studio look modeled after Stan and Jack? At least they did to me. I've heard other people say that, but I didn't notice it myself. I've seen the movie twice and I didn't catch it either time. I mean, maybe it just happened so fast, or maybe I was just so enamored with the visual of the sky lighting up and the surfer coming down. But both times I did not notice it. So now when I go a third time, and Anne's already booked our tickets for us to go see it a third time. Now when I go to see it a third time, I will absolutely make sure I look out for that, because I didn't notice it myself, Sam. All right, next up, Marie Seafring writes, Glad the Reed/Sue relationship worked well. Liked Tony/Pepper. All 4 of the main cast worked well as a team. Yeah, listen, I am notoriously against romance in comic book movies. Out of the 30, 40, 50 comic book movies we've had, there's only been like 4 times that I like the romantic relationship, the love interest. Druig and Makari in Eternals is fantastic. Andrew Garfield's Peter and Gwen, I thought was great. Tony and Pepper, absolutely. And there was one more that I really liked. There's one more I really liked. Anyway, but normally I don't. With Fantastic Four, it's a little different because they're already married, right? They're a married couple. And they're a great couple. We didn't have to go through the whole falling in love and romance. And we didn't have to go through that. Again, I'm not against that in other movies. It's just that I don't really like it in my comic book movies. But we meet them and they're already... Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Immortal Ipsy. Deadpool and Vanessa. Deadpool and Vanessa are absolutely the 4th one. Thank you for reminding me. That's the other one that really works. But with Fantastic Four, we already meet them well into their marriage. So that works. That works for me. I totally love them as that. All right. Next up, Marie Seifring also writes, since they chose to call back to the 1960s space race era, after this period, work on WandaVision, Matt Shakman was the right director for this movie. Yeah, listen, I don't know that Matt taking WandaVision through those periods is why they got him to do Fantastic Four. I think ultimately, Marie, the reason they got him to do Fantastic Four is because he just did a great job on WandaVision. WandaVision is still the absolute top gold standard of all Marvel on Disney Plus. Like, all due respect to Daredevil, and all due respect to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and all due respect to Loki, and all due respect to Ms. Marvel, I think WandaVision is still the absolutely top, but like well beyond everything else, top shelf thing that they did on Disney Plus. It is still their gold standard. And I think that's why, period piece stuff or not, I think that's why they went and got Matt Shakman then to come in and do Fantastic Four. And what a great job he did. What a great job he did. Yeah, I'm still seeing some people saying something adorable, saying, oh no, Loki was better than what? Loki is nothing. Listen, I like Loki. Loki was nothing compared to WandaVision. WandaVision's storytelling, its story beats, its narrative, all vastly superior to everything Marvel's done on Disney Plus, including Loki. And I love Loki. Loki's like my 3rd favorite character in all the MCU. But that's why they got him. And it was, you're right, absolutely the right choice to get him to direct this film. All right. Next up, Marie also writes, I like that they actually succeeded in saving Earth 828 from Galactus, at least temporarily. They are highly capable. Start the theories about what brings them to Earth 616. And you know what, Marie? I am one of those people that I kind of thought, well, Fantastic Four will probably end with Galactus destroying their world, but they find a way to escape and offer hope by getting to a new dimension, right? I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought that, but I am one of the people who thought that. I really was kind of expecting that's how it was going to end. And it would culminate with Galactus destroying their world, them making an interdimensional jump, because again, we see Reed in the classroom talking about multiple dimensions, and them escaping in their Fantastic Four ship, and hence the post-credit scene in Thunderbolts where they look up, there's a spaceship entering our thing, and it's the Fantastic Four ship, right? I am glad and surprised, pleasantly surprised, that they actually did end up saving their world. I thought that was great. And I like how they were able to save their world without saying they could just defeat Galactus. They were able to accomplish their plan by like give him a quick push out the door, but they didn't defeat Galactus, right? They were able to push him through a door. Okay, great. They were able to stop the fight. So I love the way narratively that they found a way for them to succeed and save their world without saying that they could just defeat Galactus. And I thought that was a very creative way that they did it. All right. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, I love the quote of Jax at the end that had the 828 turned into the quote of Jax at the end that had the 828 turns into his birthday, 8/28/1917, honestly felt more touching than any prior Stan cameo. Yeah, that was, I forgot that they did the Jack Kirby thing, and the quote they gave, I can't remember it. It's like, when you see my characters, you see me. It was something along those lines. That quote was really nice. But by the way, not only is there obviously now no Stan Lee cameo, did anybody else notice that this movie did not start with the Marvel fanfare? Did anybody else notice that it didn't start with a bump, little bump, 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 with a montage of all the characters? Anybody else notice they didn't do that? I wonder if they're not going to have the Marvel fanfare anymore. Like, you can say, oh, they just didn't do it because this was kind of a period piece. Okay. Maybe. But I've kind of felt like it might be more than that. I kind of wonder if it's them, if they're going to move away from the fanfare. Like, some people saying, oh, it's because it's in, where somebody said, let me see if I can find it. Some said it's because it's not in the MCU. It is in the MCU, though. It's not in the MCU's prime universe, but it is in the MCU. And besides, it doesn't matter where the movie takes place. It's Marvel Studios. It's Marvel Studios. The fanfare isn't the fanfare of the Marvel Cinematic Prime Universe. It's the fanfare of Marvel Studios. And they didn't use it. And again, maybe it means nothing. Maybe it's just because it was a time period piece and they wanted to make it look different. But I wonder if they're moving away from their classic fanfare. I'm not saying they are or they aren't. It just makes me wonder, man. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying it makes me wonder a little bit. All right. Suthius writes, just curious, is Subterranea where conservative folks live up top? Let me try this again. Is Subterranea where conservative folks live and up top is where the liberal folks live? All jokes aside, I got to call out the composition of the baby in some of the kinetic scenes. What do you mean by kinetic scenes? Not sure what you mean by the kinetic scenes. Yeah, sorry about that. I can't actually address that, Suthius, when I don't know specifically what it is you're talking about. Sorry about that. Anyway, all right, next up, Chris R. writes, I know Latveria is referenced in the film, but is it more likely that the doom we see in the end is from another Earth besides 828? I mean, it's possible. It's possible because right in this film, Reed references alternate dimensions. He references different universes and all that kind of stuff. So it's possible that this Victor Von Doom is from another universe. But he also, my guess is, and it's just a guess, I could be totally wrong, this is just me fan speculating. My guess is it's going to be the Victor from this world. Like, by this world, I mean Fantastic Four's world. That's my guess. I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna guess it's the one from their world. Could be wrong though. All right, good question, Chris. Next up, Chris also writes, also, one of the best looking MCU films that I've seen from CGI use on The Thing and the whole space chase was amazing. It was. But can we just talk for a second just about Ben? I said this on the show the other day, and I stand by this. By the way, guys, I'm about to turn off the super chats. Just so you're aware, if you do have another super chat you want to send in, you've got about 30 seconds, and then I'm turning the super chats off because we've got tons and tons and tons to get through here. So, yeah, go ahead and fire it in if you need to. So, Michael Chiklis's The Thing in the other Fantastic Four movies was a practical suit. I think they CGI'd a couple of things, but in general, Thing in Fantastic Four is a practical physical suit. And yet, even though Thing in this movie is completely CGI, I actually thought Thing, Ben, looked more real in this movie than Michael Chiklis's Thing did in his, even though Michael Chiklis's Thing was actually real. It was a physical costume. And yet this Ben felt more tangible, felt more present. Yeah, it just felt more real to me. It just absolutely felt more real to me. By the way, guys, I'm having some people saying that the stream is not streaming well for them right now. They're saying that some people are saying that it's freezing for them or whatever. Yeah, some people are saying the stream is freezing for them. Give me a moment here as I take a look. Is everybody else having problems with the stream? Let me try something here. All right, if this continues, we will end today's stream and then pick up with a part 2. We will end today's stream and pick up with a part 2. Okay, people are saying it's fine now. All right, then let's keep going for a few more minutes here at least. All right. Oh yeah, just back on the Ben thing. I thought Ben looked incredible. Like I can't believe he wasn't physically there in the room with them. It looked amazingly good, and the scenes, like again, we were talking about the scenes about them running through the black hole spot. Sorry, still trying to fix everything here. It's a little stuck for me here. Yeah, that it all worked great. It worked great. All right. Next up, we've got, let's see, we got, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. In the scene where the team is asked questions, the reporter asked the team to say what they said again. Reference to Miles Teller from the Fantastic Four. Oh, no, I don't think, I mean, listen, I can't say definitively because I wasn't there in the room. I don't see any reason why they were doing any referencing to the other Fantastic Four. I don't, I'm going to guess that was not a reference back to that other one. It might have been similar, but I'm going to guess it was a reference to the other one. All right. Sam Fisher writes, apparently Galactus wasn't all CGI, but actually Ralph Ineson, God, what a voice, in costume stomping around a massive miniature. Oh yeah. I saw that stuff where they actually like practically built a lot of stuff. Now, there was clearly a lot of CGI with him, but they also threw in some practical stuff to balance it out. And yeah, I thought it was great the way they did that. A nice mixture of the two. All right. Never Lose Your Nerd writes, love this movie. Marvel is back. Final scene with Sue was amazing and was the best character. She gave me all the feels and emotions with great action. I thought Sue was great, but the one I got my most emotional pull from was actually Reed. Again, the way Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby was amazing as Sue. But I felt the most emotional beats with Reed, with his struggle with trying to figure out all the things that could hurt him and his family and the people he loves and constantly trying to be ahead of everything. And I just, yeah, again, they all worked, but I personally got my most from Reed. All right, next up, Sam Fisher writes, 1 of 2. I know earlier reports had said Sue was team leader, and while she didn't feel like the team leader, she did feel like the main MC in the ensemble. I don't know what MC is. The main MC in the ensemble gives the rousing speech to the people. She makes first contact with the surfer. She makes the ultimate sacrifice at the end. I disagree. I don't think at all she came across as the main character. Again, I think they did a good job balancing them all out, but all four of them have their roles. Reed is clearly the leader of the team. Reed is clearly the leader. And he's the one who has to come up with the plans, and he's the one who gives them the direction and all that kind of stuff. Now, Sue's role is more the forward-facing role. She's kind of like the one that does stuff with the Future Foundation. And she's a mom who decided to go out into the street to tell the world, because she knows the world hates her son. But I never at all got the feeling that Sue was the main character of the movie. I also never got the feeling that Ben was the main character of the movie, or that Johnny was the main character of the movie. I did here and there get the sense that Reed was really the main character of the movie, but it's not even Reed. I felt they balanced them out really well throughout it, and they had all of them doing the things that their characters would do. So anyway, that's just the way I kind of took it. All right. Next up, Sam Fisher also writes, edit, Innocent was in a costume, but not on a massive miniature. He was on a white light set and then later comped into the shot, but still pretty good. Yeah, but they did make a lot of practical stuff. For example, even the ship was actually a real physical model. They did it old school ILM style with like Star Wars style with the ships. They actually built that ship and they used that in their shots. I thought that was amazing, the way they blended practical effects in with the advanced digital stuff. I thought that was a really creative thing they did. All right. Let's see here. Wayne writes, how do you think they're going to deal with Franklin in the MCU and a way to keep stakes since he can revive people while also not nerfing him? Excited to see what they do with this character and Sentry. Yeah, listen, I've asked for a long time. One of the reasons I've always doubted, like the last couple of years, up until about 6 months ago when they made it clear that Franklin was coming, I even doubted that that Franklin was going to be a part of Fantastic Four. Because I always said, nah, it's way too early to bring in Franklin. They're not going to have a baby in this movie, blah, blah, blah. I didn't think so at all. Well, clearly I was wrong, because they did. The very first scene of the movie is them saying she's pregnant, right? But one of the reasons that I doubted that they were going to bring Franklin in this early was because, forget everything you've seen. Whatever you've seen in the MCU, Franklin's more powerful. He's just more powerful. As a baby, he can snap his fingers and create universes. He is a god. Like when Reed says to him, come on, if you're some all-powerful space god, now's the time for you to tell me. Because that's basically what Franklin is. He's an all-powerful space god. He's like, however powerful they made Sentry, and they made Sentry pretty damn powerful. He ain't Franklin. I really don't know what they're going to do with Franklin. I really don't. It's a character that's far too powerful to be interesting in the MCU. So they're going to have to find some way to tone that down, or else it's simply not interesting. Like when you literally have a character who is as all powerful as theoretically Franklin Richards can be, then you've just created a movie cinematic universe that loses any interest. There's this problem. Have Franklin snap his fingers and fix it. He literally can warp and change reality. So just have him do that. So just like in many ways, they kind of, as powerful as Wanda was in Doctor Strange 2, they toned down her power from the comic books a lot, because Wanda can warp reality. And so what they did in WandaVision, instead of having her warp reality, they had her change people's perceptions of reality. Then she created a big illusion, and that's very different. They've got to figure out what they're going to do with Franklin. I'm sure they do have it figured out, and we're just going to have to figure out how they do it. But I cannot imagine they're going to have Franklin be as powerful as he is in the comics, because it's literally not interesting. He's so powerful, it's just not interesting. So I just don't think they're going to find a way for them to do that. Okay, next up, we got Murray Reich, who writes, one of two. It was so refreshing to have a film that was outside of the MCU Earth that we know of. The stakes were higher. You felt the suspense for the world. 2 of 2. Seeing Galactus approaching Earth gave me Independence Day vibes. That's a good comparison, Murray. Terrifying. Mid-credit was good, but wasn't, oh my God, great. I feel the same way, but still a great standalone. I remember when we came out of the movie, one of the first things Ray said, Ray's my brother-in-law. Ray said, it was really cool seeing a movie where they are the only superheroes in the world. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I like the idea of having standalone movies and not everything has to be a part of a big shared cinematic universe. Because I kind of miss the day. Like, I love my shared cinematic universe movies. I don't want them to go anywhere. But I also miss the days when superhero movies were about this superhero who was actually unique in the world. There's an awe and wonder to it. Because like when Spider-Man came out, Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man, there is nobody in the world like Spider-Man. There's nobody else with superpowers. There's no other people, like 50 other superheroes flying around the city. They are unique in their world. And it was really cool to see this Marvel Cinematic Universe movie where the Fantastic Four are literally unique in their world. They're unique. And I love that. And you're right, Murray. It increases the feel of the stakes. Because some of us, including me, actually thought he was going to destroy the world. So there's that too. All right, guys. Next up, we got Alex, who sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Alex, for supporting us on that level, man. Alex writes, at first, I did think that was a Dr. Doom stand-in, but it was revealed by Brandon Davis in an interview that it was Robert Downey Jr. in the post-credit scene. Shocking that they wouldn't show his face or voice since that was RDJ. I'll tell you exactly why. Because if you don't see an actor's face or voice, you ever wonder why in a lot of movies and TV shows, like when the bad guy has a bunch of soldiers, the soldiers will have masks on? Want to know why? You don't have to pay them as much. According to SAG union actors rules, you don't have to pay them as much if you don't actually see their face or hear their voices. And I bet, like they had RDJ there so they could use him. But I bet the absolute reason they didn't see his face or hear his voice is specifically because if you don't show his face or his voice, then you're not breaking any SAG rules, any union rules by not paying him. Because if they showed his face and heard his voice, then by union rules, he would have to have been paid X amount of money to go along with the thing. I bet with the fact that they didn't show his face, or it doesn't matter that he was the actor in the cloak. You don't see his face. You don't hear his voice. They don't have to pay him. So it was actually kind of brilliant. Then I don't know why you needed Robert Downey Jr. to be in the cloak then. Maybe they just want to make sure it was physically the right size for sure. But yeah, I thought I was very surprised to find out it was him in it because it didn't need to be him. But they didn't have to pay him. So there's that. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Alex. Appreciate that, man. Next up. Let's see. Alex also writes, love how they had fans thinking the Fantastic Four were leaving their Earth because it was destroyed, but way better twist to have it because of Franklin being taken by Doom to set up Doomsday. Yeah, we were just talking about that, and I agree. I was one of those people. Like my theory, and it was only a theory, I never knew, I was just guessing like everybody else. My theory going into it was Galactus will destroy their world, but at the last second, they're able to save themselves and fling themselves into another world, which is where we pick up with Thunderbolts, right? But I agree with you. I think this was the better, more interesting thing to do. So, and again, whether Franklin has anything to do with the merging of the universes, that's still just speculation on our part. But I did think it was great that they were able to show that they could save their world. And I think that was important. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Alex. Appreciate that, man. All right. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, one of two. What actually killed Sue? Overexertion? Yes. Because I don't think they established that overuse of their powers is fatal. Well, we'll get to that in a second. Just to double check, Franklin definitely brought Sue back to life, right? Yes. And they all know that Franklin brought her back to life and has powers. Yes. So overexertion will kill anybody. It can kill anybody. If you overexert yourself, that can kill you. You will overload your system and your body can shut down. And so I don't see why, if you're Fantastic Four, that the same wouldn't be true. Like Reed was news. Like, it's you just trying to give Galactus a shove is too much. It's too much. You're going to hurt yourself, or you're going to die. You overtax your system, you can die. And so it doesn't have to be specific to it doesn't have to be specific to a character. Say, well, you need to specify that if you overuse your powers, you could die. I think it's just kind of inherent. Any living thing, if you overexert it to a certain point, could kill it. And so the same was true of Sue Storm. And she was trying to do something that she shouldn't be able to do. And it did too much. And yes, it killed her. And yes, she did die. And yes, Franklin brought her back to life. And yes, the Fantastic Four know that. So there's that. All right. Thanks, Sam. Next up, Watson Duncan writes, Quinn was a fan favorite straight away with Eddie Munson, and now the same with Johnny. He was awesome. The Stranger Things guys are taking over the MCU. Hell, what am I missing? Is there another Stranger Things guy in the MCU? Oh, you're probably talking about David Harbour. Yeah, David Harbour. So good. The difference is, of course, that David Harbour was not introduced in Stranger Things. Much like Eddie Munson, like we knew David Harbour before Stranger Things. But yeah, they're all too. I wonder if the other Stranger Things kids are going to be able to make careers. Like Wolfhard has already done a couple things, but I don't know that he's catching on. And it's going to be interesting to see if the other kids are able to catch on in other things too. But yeah, man, I mean, he's done great for himself. Joseph Quinn has done great for himself. All right. Next up. And Sadie Sink. Somebody also mentioned Sadie Sink is coming into Spider-Man. Yeah, that's another one. You're right. That's 3 right there. All right. Next up. Thanks, Watson. Min Tran writes, did you see Fantastic Four going back to their universe once the Doom arc is finished? No, I don't. I think they should. I think they should do something like that, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to have it where they are merging the universes. Like Rob often talks about this, that the reason for these event things in the comics is to uncomplicate things and merge everything back into a singular universe and world. And I think that's what they're doing here. So no, I don't think, I think Fantastic Four are now going to be part of the main MCU, and that will be that, because we know they're bringing the multiverse saga to an end. Sorry, my voice is starting to go. They're going to be bringing the multiverse saga to an end. All right. Next up, Min Tran also writes, considering how well let me try this again. Considering how well this working being its own separate universe, would it be better for Marvel to have 2 cinematic universes? I've already kind of answered that. I'll say it again. I've been saying that ever since they were bringing over X-Men. Yes, I think they should have 2 separate cinematic universes. Have one with X-Men and Fantastic Four. Have one with the rest of the MCU. That way you can tell more stories. You don't have to worry about how one movie affects the other. You have more creative freedom. I absolutely think that's what they should do, but it's not what they're doing. I've thought that for the last 5 years since they announced they were getting X-Men. I would certainly love to see this Fantastic Four stay in its own universe. But it is clear that is not what they are doing. They are going to merge them together. And I'm sure they're going to do a great job. I'm sure they're going to do a great job. In Kevin Feige, I trust. But yeah, I think if they had asked me, and they clearly didn't, I think they should have 2 separate universes. All right. Francisco writes, ciao, Giovanni. Totally unprepared for how hard this movie hit me emotionally as a father of a 9-month-old. I can imagine. Bring on the filthy. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, my real name is Giovanni. Anyway. Yeah. Listen, I'm not a dad, and it totally hit me. Like the way Pedro and Vanessa Kirby played it, both just as their own relationship, but also as parents, it moved me emotionally. I thought it was so good. I thought it was so good. By the way, I do have to bring this up here. Sean98 just said in the live chat, just stick to the source material and I'll watch what Marvel and DC does. I always got to laugh when I say, by the way, I'm just busting your balls here for a minute, Sean. I'm like all in love. I'm just busting your balls here for a second. It always makes me laugh though when I see some people say, stick to the source material. Which version of the source material? Because there have been about 38 different renditions of Fantastic Four. There have been different retellings of what their characters are and what they can do and what they've done. And it's been reloaded and rebooted several times. So whenever somebody says stick to the source material, I always want to ask them which version of the source material. Because there's many. It reminds me a lot. I bring this up all the time, but it's a great example of this. When the director of Superman Returns, they remember Brandon Routh's Superman Returns was about to come out, and they took it to Comic-Con. And so the movie hadn't come out yet. And during a Q&A, one of the people in the audience asked the director, why did you change the Superman costume? To which the director said, change from what? There have been, I believe at the time he said, there have been 37 or 38, I can't remember what he said, different iterations of the Superman costume in the comic books. Some big differences, some minor details, but there have literally been dozens and dozens and dozens of different iterations with minor differences and changes to the Superman costume in the comic book for over the years. So he said to the guy, so when you say, why did you change it? Well, change it from which? Like, it's clearly a Superman costume. So, but that's the thing. Like, a lot of times I'll hear people say, well, do it the way it's done in the comics. Which way in the comics? There have been hundreds. And so anyway, so again, I'm honestly not trying to give you a hard time, Sean. I'm just busting your balls, fellow film loving brother. I'm just giving you a hard time. But yeah, that just always makes me giggle a little bit. All right. Next up, we've got Sam Fisher, who writes, love the 3 men and a baby ending with the car seat. I don't know why. Let me finish reading the question. Car seat and the running gag of Johnny calling Herbie Herbert. Writing nailed these characterizations. The writing absolutely did. If you had told me that scene, if you explained to me that scene, said, and then they're going to end the movie where they're all trying to get into the Fantastic Car, but Reed, Johnny, and Ben, these 3 geniuses, are having a hard time getting a baby seat put in. And it's going to be funny. I would have said, that sounds stupid. And I hope they don't do that. But it totally worked. I was laughing my ass off that whole time. And maybe it's because I've had many friends with kids and I myself have struggled and fought with those fucking accursed baby seats and trying to get them in. So maybe that's just my own experience. But I have to admit, even though if you had told me about it in advance, I would have said it sounded stupid. I was laughing like an idiot the whole time that entire scene was going. I was laughing like an idiot the entire time. I thought it was absolutely great. All right. Next up, we got JT Hiskey, who writes, was hoping to see the Council of Reeds in this film. Oh God, please no. No, I so don't need that. But maybe in the future sometime soon. I absolutely 100%. I'm so over the Council of X bullshit. I hate it. I hate all this multiversal nonsense. I hate all that garbage. They did the whole Council of Kangs thing, and that was idiotic. I do not want them I just want this to be done. I just want them to finish this stupid multiverse saga and move on. Again, I'm not trying to steal your joy. I'm just saying I myself am very, very happy they did not do that thing. And I in no way want them to do that thing ever. Just me. Just me. That's all. Again, I'm not trying to take away your joy from that or anybody else's. I'm just saying just me. I really, really, really do not want a Council of Reeds. I really don't. Anyway. All right. Next up. Vaz writes, did you share the same fear I did when before entering Galactus' ship, the tracking laser locking on Sue's belly, spotting Franklin? Absolute chills. Yeah, man. It was an oh shit moment. when it focused on like, and right down on the belly, I'm like, well, crap. And I love how it kind of implies this cosmic awareness that Galactus has. That just from looking at it, he's like, oh, this baby has the power cosmic. By the way, how interesting is it that they deviated from this idea? Well, they've had different variations of Franklin. Sometimes they've had it in the comics that Franklin is straight up a mutant, like maybe the most powerful mutant ever born, but he's a mutant. That him having powers has nothing to do with the fact that Reed and Sue have powers. He's just genetic. He's a mutant, like the X-Men. He's a mutant. Then they've changed that in the comics in different ways. But again, I thought they might use Franklin as a way to introduce the mutants and all that kind of stuff. That I thought they would actually introduce him as a mutant. Instead, they went with he has and he possesses the power cosmic. So yeah, anyway, there's that. All right, next up. Amin writes, one of two. A main nitpick issue I had, it seemed like Galactus reached our solar system really quickly, but then took much longer to actually get to Earth. Almost like he stalled after Jupiter. A simple visual or line could have helped show the passage of time better. Maybe it was an editing issue. Yeah, you know what? Here's how I chose to take it. But you are not wrong. Like, Galactus got from one galaxy to our galaxy fairly quick. But then walking up the driveway took a lot of time. And that was inconsistent. So here's how I took it, okay? And this is just my headcanon. That it's like the walking up the driveway thing. Okay, you use this one thing to boom, get to the galaxy. It's like you get in your car to drive to your buddy's house. But then you get out of the car and walk up the driveway. So in my head, the way I played it out was, yeah, Galactus makes this jump to our solar system and then sublights it the rest of the way to, because remember, Galactus is billions of years old, right? To him, taking 3 weeks is the blink of an eye to get from here to here. So to a being like Galactus, who is literally billions and billions of years old, that's not an issue. That's a blink of an eye. So again, they didn't say that in the movie. It does feel inconsistent. I agree with you. But in my head, I just played it like, okay, boom, he gets to our galaxy and then he walks the rest of the way in. Again, that might be a completely bad way of looking at it, but it is the way I chose to have it in my headcanon nonetheless. All right. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, I'm with you. I wanted more from Reed stretching than him just springing to climb, reaching extra far. Where was Reed twisting himself around his lab? Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, one of the things I said, I would have liked to have seen Reed using his powers a little bit more, but what this movie really emphasized is that stretching is not Reed's main power. His main power is he's the smartest man in the universe. He's the smartest man in the world. And we got plenty of seeing Reed utilizing that. So would I have liked to have seen him as the superhero a little bit more? Yeah. But we got a lot of Reed. And so I'm pretty satisfied with the way they decided to use it. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Matt W., who writes, my local MJR theater just opened the largest laser IMAX in Michigan. I don't know what MJR, but that sounds good. And caught Fantastic Four there. It was a blast. The cherry on top was the recliner seats. Nice. It was an amazing experience. Dude, listen. One of the reasons that I prefer the AMC Prime Dolby experience is because, well, number one, it has impeccable image and sound, but also they have the motorized leather recliners. I love those. The IMAX screen does not have those. Dude, if you had an IMAX screen with recliners, woo, that would be something. Yeah, I think I would have to go to the IMAX a little bit more if my local one had that. That's awesome that you have that. You know what? Once I get the van, and we start traveling around the country, going to different movie theaters to do meetups, I think I'm going to have to go to that theater, Matt, because Michigan is right by Ontario, so which will be close to home for me. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to, stop in and visit that theater. All right. Next up, we've got, where we got Vaz next. Hey, John, huge fan. Thank you so much, Vaz. Watch your show every day like it's my morning news. Thank you. Was the artist in the movie making a Fantastic Four supposed to be Jack Kirby, Shackman showing love to Kirby? You know, somebody else brought that up earlier saying, and I've seen other people say that in that scene when Surfer's coming, you see those guys in the comic shop. I've seen the movie twice and I didn't catch it. I didn't catch it. So I didn't know. Yeah, I just don't know. And so I can't say I didn't see it myself, but it sounds like that's what they were doing. That sounds like what they were doing. All right. Next up, we've got Alex who writes, I felt like all four of them embodied their characters and can't wait to see more of them. Never understood the doubt from people's minds about the cast. Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. It was brilliantly done. And, you know, by the way, I still see an ongoing debate in the live chat about, well, they shouldn't have used the female. Here's the thing. I saw somebody in the live chat say, I don't know who it was, but somebody in the live chat said, well, they should have just avoided the controversy and used the male Silver Surfer. Fuck that. When you're filmmakers, you don't make your film based off, well, what's going to make the angry people happy? You don't worry about that. You start with your story and you tell your story. And what worked best for this story was them using the Shala Ball version from the comics as the Silver Surfer in this 828 universe. That worked with their story because they wanted a connection between Johnny and the Surfer. So they did that. That is what you use to govern your decision-making process and how you're telling your stories. Not, well, how do we make sure we don't make the losers in their mom's basements angry? You start with, what's the story we want to tell? Then what is the best, most efficient way for us to tell that story? What characters do we need to leverage to tell that story? And then how do we portray those characters in telling the story? Everything should be in service to the story. And if they decided that, hey, in this universe, we want this with Johnny. So you know what? In the comics, we have Shala Ball. Let's use Shala Ball. Okay, because everything's in service to the story. You don't go, like, you're never going to be successful as filmmakers. You go, well, let's make our decisions based on what might make some chugs living in their mom's basements angry. You know, or equally true, the way you don't tell your stories going, well, what will make people like John Campea happy? No. Fuck the chug mother's basement dwelling Dixits and fuck John Campea. You make your story as filmmakers based on what is in service to your story. And if your story has this, then do everything in service of that. And if that means having Shala Ball, have Shala Ball. If that means realizing you need to cut out John Malkovich, cut out John Malkovich. Who cares what John Campea wants before he sees the movie? Who cares what the Chud basement dwellers want before they see the movie? You're the artist. You're the studio. Make your movie and just make sure you're doing everything in service to the story. And if you do that, then it doesn't guarantee a win, definitely doesn't guarantee a win, but it gives you your best chance of success artistically. And that's all we can really ask for. All right. Next one. We've got Harv's K writes, this is easily the most visually distinctive MCU film. Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm ready to rush back into the theater just to be in that world again. And Giacchino's score is quite the earworm in the best way. Dude, I still catch myself in the afternoons, just catch myself humming dun, 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 dun. Like it's really, really great. I loved it. And yeah, I thought it was wonderful. I remember I first heard it at the what was it called? The Infinity Saga concert that they did at the Hollywood Bowl, where they brought in an orchestra and over 2 hours just kind of ran through the entire Marvel Infinity Saga from the first Iron Man ending with Endgame. And they played the music around for it. And as a special little treat, at the end, they brought out Michael Giacchino came out on stage. Said, you know what? We got a special treat for you. Kevin Feige came back out too. So we got a special treat for you. This was like a year ago. Here is the first ever performance of the score of Fantastic Four. And they played it. And even without any visuals, without any context, we were all just like, this is freaking odd. This score is amazing. And so, yeah, we really loved it. All right. You know what, guys, we're only going to go a couple more minutes. We're getting close to 2 hours and my throat is starting to, my throat's starting to hurt. And I got to make sure I can do the show tomorrow. So we're going to just do a couple more here. All right, next up. Harv's K also wrote, that $80 Galactus bucket is pricey. Yeah, I love that bucket, but I cannot justify to myself buying it. I just can't. The $80 Galactus bucket is pricey, but at only $5 less, the Herbie bucket is a better value. Plays the movie score and also projects a 4 on your wall. That's pretty cool. Plus, it comes with large popcorn, drink, and candy. Yeah, listen. I really like the trend that we have right now of these big high-profile movies having their own special collectible popcorn buckets. I like it. I like this trend. I don't buy all of them, but I have a couple. Like I bought the Deadpool one and there was one other one we got at any rate. And no, we didn't get the Dune 2 one. We didn't get the Fleshlight worm. And I love the Galactus one. I love it. But I can't justify spending $80 to get it. And listen, for all I know, it literally maybe costs that much to make it. I don't know. It's big, it's beautiful, all that kind of stuff. But, and I agree with Michael Gonzalez, the Gladiator 2 popcorn bucket was really brilliant. It was practical, it was functional, and all the stuff it did was amazing. I love the Gladiator 2 bucket. But for $80, I can feel like the way I do for a good Ferrari. I can appreciate it and think it looks beautiful, but I cannot justify buying it. It's just too much. I just can't bring myself to drop $80 on a popcorn bucket. Especially since I don't know where I would even put it. I've got like 4 Hot Toys and they're all just kind of tucked in a corner over there. You guys can't see it, but it's tucked in a corner over there because I literally got nowhere I can put them. And so I just can't bring myself to buy that popcorn bucket. Anyway, but it is great. It's great. And I'm super jealous of everybody who's able to get it, but I can't justify to myself spending $80 for one. All right. Last question we're going to cover today, because I'm losing it here. Patrick, I will not sacrifice my child for this world, but I will not sacrifice this world for my child. But what I will do is sacrifice my life for you both, and that's what it takes. Outstanding performance. Yeah, it was wonderful. She was great. And again, I've seen some people debating this in the live chat. I got to correct this. Well, Sue was the one to beat Galactus. Sue did not beat Galactus. She was able to give him a shove. And even that wouldn't have worked if Ben hadn't run along and taken down the building that he was bracing himself against. Because remember, he was stopped going back because he was grabbing that building. So Ben came out and took out the building. The most the Fantastic Four were able to do to Galactus is to hurt him or inconvenience him. You know, Johnny hurt him with blasting his feeding tubes. Reed was able to like open up his gaping wound in his back. Ben was able to give him a shot and Sue was able to shove him. But make no mistake, that's all she could do was give him a push. And the only way she could give him a push and make it work is if Ben was able to take down his brace and if she was able to push herself to the point that it killed her, all to give him a shove. And even then, it didn't work Silver Surfer had to come along and give him the final shot because he was about to climb back out. Even then. So I love the fact in this movie, they didn't nerf Galactus and just have the Fantastic Four able to beat him up. But they did show that each one of the Fantastic Four could give him a shot and could hurt him or inconvenience him. But at the end of the day, that's not enough to defeat Galactus. They were able to trip him into the hole. Okay, great. But yeah, so anyway, there's that whole thing. All right, guys. We have now gone 2 hours doing this live stream for our Fantastic Four open spoiler discussion. Clearly, we will have to do a part 2 to get through all the rest of the questions and observations that you guys made. We will get to that in the next 24 to 48 hours, just like we did with the Superman one. We'll get the next part done in the next 24. So either tomorrow or Tuesday, look for that. We'll have part 2 up. So yeah, guys, and my voice is going. Thank you to everybody for being here and joining us for this part 1 of our Fantastic Four open spoiler discussion. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number 1, because you gave us great fun things to talk about and interesting observations. And number 2, you supported our channel as you did it and all of us involved with it. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, we're already working on a number of stories for tomorrow's John Campea Show, some stuff coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, some box office results. We've got a lot of things. Please make sure you come and join us tomorrow on the John Campea Show. We'll talk to you guys then. And then again, keep your eyes open for part 2 of this video sometime in the next 48 hours. All right, guys, that will do it for me. My voice is going. Thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.